Well, as you know, folks, we've been covering AT&T's DirecTV dropping Newsmax from their channel lineup, causing an outrage among conservatives, with many asking, is this a coordinated effort to silence the left's opposition? Former governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin, took to Instagram in our support, posting, quoting here, "If you care about our Bill of Rights, you must join the cause against the censorship. Censoring Newsmax is only the start in the socialist agenda to transform America." Also sharing this very relevant moment from a previous interview on The Balance.
You did a wonderful documentary. You and I got to work on it together. We warned things like this will happen.
Yeah, and she now joins me to discuss former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin. Welcome. So, you know, there's a growing groundswell. At first, like, okay, so there's the deal couldn't be cut, but now we're realizing this may be a coordinated effort by AT&T and DirecTV to remove anyone who doesn't speak the left's language. What are your thoughts?
I'll bet you most every penny that I own, that I have, that's exactly what's going on. I think it's blatant censorship. Look at some of the shows with which you compete and networks that Newsmax in general is competing against. And they keep those shows and those networks on despite very low ratings. It doesn't make probably even economic sense for them, but I think they're doing this on principle. And it is, as you're suggesting, it's based on whether a philosophy espoused by a network or a show perhaps is shared by the top dogs calling the shots at DirecTV and at AT&T. And this is a shame. And it is a step towards, it's beyond socialism even. A principle like this that's exercised, that's putting you on the road to communism. And we know things like this are going to happen. The question needs to be, what are we going to do about it? I have a lot of people asking me, Sarah, you call for a boycott of AT&T, of DirecTV. And I'm like, man, this is a tough one. Yeah, I don't want to use either entity. In fact, I got rid of DirecTV recently, but for other reasons. But we don't want the employees hurt. And we want, in the court of public opinion, we want them to feel the hurt. The stakeholders, the board members, the CEOs. We need to put enough pressure on them. And yes, that probably does require boycotting in some respects, in some measure. It's tough though, Eric, and maybe your viewers can even help me out on it in trying to figure out what a solution is that I can share, because it would be like, say, if you don't have a choice, like me boycotting Alaska Airlines, I would be stuck. You know, so they kind of have us over a barrel, and it's not right. So, no, in the court of public opinion, if enough of us are standing up and saying enough is enough,
so allow
then they
me,
will fill the bench.
Allow me, Governor, if I may, to add a little wrinkle to this, because I'm a libertarian. And frankly, if someone were to put this on my desk, you know, and I read through it and I said, okay, well, they can pick and choose who they want to put on their network. If they want to, you know, eliminate a huge audience, Newsmax is the fourth largest news network in America. If they want to eliminate, that's their choice. However, I went back and I found many, many instances that AT&T took money from NASA, the agency, the space agency. That's government dollars. That's taxpayer dollars. And it's not just liberal dollars. It's Republican, GOP, independents, libertarian like me. We pay our taxes, and some of it goes to NASA. And then for them to do deals, $49 million last year with NASA, a $62 million deal. NASA even was their first venture putting a satellite into AT&T's first satellite into space was on a NASA rocket. Now that, for me, draws the line between picking and choosing who you want to do business with. And if you're going to do that, you better be fair on who your customers are and who your customers get to see. Absolutely. That's brilliant, Eric. And that's exactly right. And I, too, with that healthy libertarian streak within me and good senators like Senator Rand Paul, also libertarian, we want private sector to be able to do whatever they deem necessary for their clients, for their business, for their stakeholders. However, when they're so enmeshed like DirecTV and AT&T are with government, well, they're the ones who are meshing the two, right? So they are part of government. Well, as the regulators regulating those two companies especially, they need to be held to the same standards that we would hold others in government that are more clearly in government. Okay. And I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to take it one step further. Talk about holding people to standards. When OAN got deplatformed by AT&T a year ago or so, We stood up on this show. I said, hey, you can't do that. If you're a customer of AT&T, tell them you want OAN back. On this show, I did. It's a competitor. And I stood up because it was the right thing to do. You can't stifle conservative voices. So here's my question. Where's Fox? Where's Fox? Why aren't they? They got the big megaphone. Why aren't they standing up for conservative voices? Or is it all about them?
I'm so disappointed in Fox. And here, like you, Eric, probably never be called again to go commentate on Fox, but doggone it, they have the big platform. They need to be standing up in principle for our freedoms. And this is all about that. You know, Bristol, my daughter Bristol and I were talking about this before the show about what do we do? What is the solution when companies do this to us? And she said, you know, whatever happened to the good old days when people just did their jobs and CEOs, they weren't going to be messaging all this political stuff and taking sides, just do their job. And those were good old days and things were better for this country when that sort of thinking was exercised. We need to get back to that. It's just like when the pro athletes, you know, some of them jumping out there and doing something that's anti-American. It disappoints us, and we don't want to then be their fan or be their customer because what they do, it affects us. More so, though, are these private sector companies that we're talking about that aren't wholly private sector, as you just pointed out.
We got to go with Governor, always good friend of mine, by the way, folks, Governor Sarah Palin. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.